Good afternoon to all. Welcome to our Tally CA Connect. Today's topic of discussion, I'm sure, will be a very useful one at this time of the year. That is basic review for CAs to close the books for year end using Tally. Our expert for today is CA Venugopal. CA Venugopal, I'm sure most of you here already know him. I'd like to give a brief introduction. CA Venugopal is a practicing chartered accountant, and he has over 20 years of experience. He is also a certified information system auditor and proficient in business valuation, internal audit, fraud detection, forensic accounting. He's an active speaker at ICI, especially on GST and information technology and its implementation challenges. He has authored various industry-specific handbooks on GST. He has also authored handbook on GST compliance for Tally users. He conducts various workshops, and today he has taken out time for us from his very busy schedule. We are proud that CA Venugopal is also a Tally evangelist. I welcome you, sir. Thank you for being here today. And to the audience, I'd like to say, please do mention your questions in Q&A so that we can track your questions and answer them correctly. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Komal, for your kind words in the introduction. And I'm happy to be part of this discussion with other fellow chartered accountants, auditors, and the tax consultants, especially on this topic of finalization of the books of accounts using Tally. Friends, I'm sure most of the conversation which we are going to have today is something you are aware of, but somewhere we miss out in communicating this to the clients or the accountants so that it would save the time. In fact, yesterday 15th February was the last date for filing of the tax audit for the previous year. I'm sure everyone would have one or the other client's data would got filed the last day. It's not that we have dragged it to the last day, but the books of accounts are not maintained in such a way that the finalization could be simple and easy and a faster way. So what I thought is we can have, again, we are closing to the year end for March 22. At least now we can send out a communication note to all the accountants, and we know most of us use the Tally as an accounting software. So tell them these are the things I expect in the books of accounts to be done. So what I have listed here in today's session is what are all the audit areas that we go through, what are the things we look at in the audit, and how those can be achieved in the Tally by way of some customizations or by way of some configurations, or expecting a disciplined manner of the data entry and reporting. So these are the things which I thought I will share. We can have it as a two-way interaction. You can put your thoughts, whatever the discussion points that comes to you, in the chat box. If you have a question for me to look into that and reply to the question, put it in the Q&A section. All right. So on this note, let's start the discussion. Is the Tally screen visible and the
Yes,
access?
sir.
Everything is good.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Okay. So what are the controls during the closure of the books of accounts that one needs to look at it? So what I intend to cover is the basic configurations which we need to do it in Tally, and what are the expectations we have from accountants to close the books of accounts. I would like to each one of you to make notes, whatever you think is appropriate, so that you can have your internal SOPs and everything. Then what are the configurations that are expected to be done in master at a ledger levels, and certain checks and balances that you can think of having it. So to start with, we will look at the general points. First and foremost, when we look at an audit, we look at having the opening balances matching. This is one common issue that happens. The opening balances will not match because the SSE would have taken a backup of, say, financial year 2021 and has submitted for the audit. During the course of the audit, some audit entries, everything would have been posted in the 2021 Tally data. and that would have resulted in some balance sheet ledger balances being changed. The 21-22 would have continued like that. There is a method of comparing opening balances in the tally. I would want you to look at, explore that feature. I'll also show you. The second, tally has the reconciliation of the bank account. You can have the accountant to use the bank reconciliation and reconcile the balance in the tally itself. The debtors and creditors, having them bill wise being activated, and if you can actually suggest all the balance sheet items, you can suggest them to have bill wise, and every client would have multiple verticals of business, could be dealing in 2 different products, or could be dealing in multiple segments, or he might have the same product in different location, or he has customer stream which is like say wholesale or retail division. So it could be any of the streams which they can identify, and we should strategize them that start using cost centers. Now, this is another way to track that if there are any provisions that have been missed or anything which is missing is something very important. Then explaining them that the narrations to be captured properly in the transactions in the books of accounts, and the date should be also be recorded, especially when an invoice is being accounted. They just debit the expenditure purchases and credit the supplier, but the what is the date on which the supplier has given. So there could always be 2 dates: the date in which I am recording the voucher, or the date originally issued by the supplier. Both these dates are 2 different dates. We should insist the both needs to be recorded. I'll also show how it can be done. And also enabling multi-currency wherever, if there are foreign exchange transactions, if they want to track it, the receivables in foreign currency, they can activate multi-currency and do it. So let's quickly look at these things. I have both Tally Prime and also Tally ERP9 enabled, so we can have the data reviewed for the both. Under the both thing, how it would look up, we can look at it. Let me open a Tally data. All right, so there is a sample data here from Tally ERP9 and also Tally Prime. First and foremost, Tally Prime has new look, new feature. Please upgrade it, and upgradation is free as long as your TSS is active. And same serial number, Prime would also work, ERP would also work. Just that to have Prime being activated, you need to have 64-bit version. Today, all the systems that are coming are 64-bit systems. Other than that, you can upgrade to Tally Prime. It has newer features, more facilities for reconciliation and everything. So the starting with the points one by one, like comparing opening balance. There are multiple ways of doing it. I would show you in a simple way, because the Tally analytics, the Tally Prime is updating the audit features. So I'll show you a compare feature which is there in the Tally basic native. So what is that I want to compare? Let's say I have my trial balance, display trial balance. I have my trial balance, and this is a trial balance I want to compare with something. So every screen or every report of the Tally, you can have a new column coming up. And this new column, if you have multiple companies, you can pick it from another company and you can set it from there. So I want to here get the data from May 21. So I can have 2 data simultaneously from 2 different companies. That's possible. So you can also use the native features of the Tally audit and compliance, where you can do an audit analysis of verification of balances, where you can set the in this data. I do not have the previous period, but you can set it, or you can compare company. On the right side top, you have compare company. I can load one more, the historical company, and I can compare it. So this way, the data can be easily verified. The opening balances can be verified easily. This is something you should try using it so that you know that it is more accurate. Anything done with the system is accurate. The next thing is bank reconciliation. In the tally, we have the bank transactions that are being recorded. So we have this feature called reconcile. So if someone is using tally ERP9, having tally prime, whatever, the reconciliation being done here in the tally is the best thing which one can do. And somehow, if someone has not done the reconciliation and they're doing this first time, if you think that the balances are matching, I would want to clear all the transactions in one go. Even that feature is there. You can set the value, whatever is the bank date is there, whatever is the bank date is there, you can set that itself as the date of a transaction. So here I can say I'll set the bank date, whatever is the instrument date, as my bank date. So you can see all my reconciliation dates of been automatically been set. So one time you can tell the accountant to clear off the old reconciliation items or pending items, and he can ongoingly use the reconciliation. So this is one way of doing and clearing the backlog, but getting the bank reconciliation done back into the system. The next thing is getting the debtors and creditors, the bill wise enabled. One of the basic thing which we look at it is, let's say I go to my balance sheet, current assets, sundry debtors, and I have so many parties. So I open the party. Let's look at this party. There are transactions. So if the outstanding balance of this party is 21,81,000, I also expect on the right side FI bill wise. So what are the list of bills that are pending? In fact, in the current case, the bills which are pending are only 15,55,000. So still there are 6,25,000 on account transactions are there. You should always ask them that please clear off. These are the bills that should be pending, and I would like to analyze what are the bills which are more than 180 days or more than 90 days or whichever is the opening balance previous year, whatever. You would want to make your analysis. Make sure you have this data. Once you have this data, Tally helps you in giving automatically the age by bill date or due date. You can set it 30 to 90, 90, 180, or in any of the thing. The Tally will automatically split the invoices into multiple buckets. So this can also help you in making provision in the books of accounts. It will also help you in disallowing any input tax credit if they have availed and they have not paid to the vendors. All sorts of analysis that it can be done, and also looking at why it is not being paid, and if there are an MSME customers, there is an obligation to provide interest. These things could be easily looked into. All right. Moving next, on the profit and loss account, you can ask the client to enable cost center. In fact, enabling cost center can help you to look at the data in multi-folds and multi-facets. For example, I have one data which is extracted, a demo data which is extracted. So here is the financials which has been generated from Tally. So the trial balance has been extracted month-wise, and that has been generated. So you can see my billing, my revenue, expenditure month over month. This is the entity as level. Given that the client is using cost center, so there is a segment wise revenue. So they have automatically prepared a segment wise revenue. They have a manufacturing division. So some solar equipment manufacturing which is there, and there is some service revenue which is there. And also they have a new unit that they are setting up. Whatever is the cost that being incurred in the new unit, which should not distort your regular the financials, is also captured. And against the revenue, there you also know what is the material. And one second. So against each item, you also know what are the various materials that are the equipments that are required. So the grouping of the ledgers have been done such a way that they can get the details. And the best part of it, the information is available at the vendor level, because they use the bill matching, meaning they use the data entry in such a way that the bills are accounted not just debit credit with the cash in bank, but it is like an AP and AR module. So I have against each item which has been incurred, I know who is the party from whom the purchases have been made. So I will be able to see if whichever is the expenditure, I know from which party the materials have been purchased. So like raw material, so these are the party names, and with the amount this has been purchased. And this profit, so what has been done is the profit at the entity level has been identified at the division 1, division 2, division 3. Again, in the division 1 is like each of the item that are being sold at an item level, the profit is being done. So their entire information is just getting from the tally. You know, if you're capturing the bill references and the cost center, the data can be extracted for the MIS purposes. The next thing you should suggest in the bookkeeping activity is ensuring the narrations. Sometimes, you know, while doing the data entry, it so happens that, let's say I am here doing my data entry, and here is my bill. So I was just coming, and so it just got some, so the ledger, party ledger got changed, especially in Prime. At least since the e-invoice everything is there, it asks. But when I am doing it in ERP9, it doesn't even ask anything, and the data gets changed. So suddenly a voucher from one party got changed to other. Someone was reviewing everything. But if I had a narration written, so it was actually whatever I have shown you is just a live tally picked from thing. Of course, all the names have been changed. If the narration has been written, then you can know what was item sold to whom, and if there are any corrections that have happened, you can easily track during your audit. You can easily check that, okay, looks like something error in this. So better let us get this fixed. So you should ensure that they enter the proper narration. And next thing is the recording of the dates. By this we will also know how long the data entry delay is happening. Like when I say recording of the dates, while you are doing your posting of your entry in this, let me just do a purchase entry. Now you can see that I have the supplier details activated. So from where did this come up is, if you can go and in ERP9, what you have is F12 detail. You can also get the more details. So which you want to set it, like supplier invoice number and date, all those things. You can set it up. You can always configure. F12 is the biggest, that's the only dynamic screen. Each tally screen, F12 will give you a different option. So configuration, that F12 button gives you different configurations in each screen. Anyone who is using tally, I would always say F12 is like Brahmastra. Always go there and explore what are the features that you are missing out. So commonly, this is something which is not enabled. You can see here the supplier invoice details. This is something which commonly people do not enable it. So this, I would suggest that you enable it. Like if this is not enabled, if I set it as no, this is how it would be. You will select some party, and you will select the whatever is the entry that you are making. Yeah, so people make this purchase entry. Now the difference that would happen is currently this entry has been posted on 31st March. What if the purchases has happened in January or December? At least now you know, you can just write. Now Tally supports lot of SQL queries. So if you can just write one data that you can extract from Excel, Tally to Excel, you can make a filter what is how many number of days the delay happened between the invoice date to the data entry date. This way this will help you to activate and check some of the errors that are going through. All right, so these are all on the basic thing. Now let us get into the specific audit area wise, cash and bank book. When you're auditing cash and bank book, firstly ensure that there are no journals have been used in the cash book or the bank book. So how will you know that they have not used the journals? It is very simple. You can go to display cash book. These are the transactions. So all your transactions are there. You can list out the transactions. So I have payment, sales, purchase. So you can see there is no journal that is recorded in the cash. Now you may be surprised, can the journals be recorded? Answer is yes, journals can be recorded. Now again, many of you wouldn't have explored in the Tally at the gateway of Tally. In your configuration of voucher entry, you can do all these configurations wherein you can allow the cash entry in the journals, allow cash entry in the journals, or allow fixed assets or expenditure to record purchase module. You can make these features all enabled and allowed. So this is something which you will have to check. Then you can check, is there any single transaction that is above 10,000 rupees? So the normal default way, the way we would check it is in our cash ledger. The way we check is we go to the cash ledger and we use this query alt F12, vouchers having ledger amount greater than and whatever is the amount. That is one way of doing. Today there in the Tally Prime there are configurations of multiple reports. So I can quickly create a report and I can say, okay, go to cash expenditure more than 5,000 rupees. So it is showing me all the cash entries where the value is more than 5,000 rupees. So I can create a new view. So in a normal screen, in my normal screen, which is there, here all these are, let's say we'll book about 10,000 rupees. So I will create a new view. So I can change the view and create a new view, or I can save this view which is there. So I will write a query. So my query is vouchers having the ledger amount which is greater than 10,000 rupees, or I'll say 12,000 rupees. And these are the vouchers I want to list. So I have filtered and created a view. So I can save this view, and this is a cash greater than 12,000 rupees. So this is how one can actually look at creating a new view. So, and whether you want to save this view to a default report or anything, by default you can set it as default report. I would suggest not to do it because you're changing the default report. Let it be this way. Additional configuration, it is asking whether you want it to open for all companies which are opening in this computer or only this company, and whether you want the master. So when I query, let it select the ledger, or no, I want it to be for cash ledger only and for this period only. So this is the normal cash ledger. The views that are available. So I can hit this change view. It says, okay, you can see cash entries more than 12,000. I said that it will come automatically. So this way you can also create a view or create a report for the audit team purposes. So the audit team can use that, and you can also query that list of, you can apply a filter whether the voucher types journal or transactions more than this. You can set it up and do that. And the next thing you can also try, you would want to try looking at is negative cash balance. And how do you get the negative cash balance? You want to look at the cash transactions which are there. Basically the the information you want to see on a daily basis. So my data which is there, I generally what we see. Yeah. So I want to see my outstanding on a daily basis. So I can change the view to whatever the view type which I want. I can give this the report a columnar, month-wise and day-wise, and see if my cash has gone negative in any given date, whether the cash has gone negative. So here is my entries which I see. In this case, I can see my closing balance is 15,090 rupees debit. Opening balance is also debit, and all the months it is also debit. So looks okay. I don't see any issue. But let us also explore on a daily basis. Right now I'm seeing on a monthly basis. I'll change the view and I will hit this as daily. So the moment I say daily, so my daily transactions are coming. But if you see in between, you can see the data has turned into red for a couple of days, which means on some days the transactions have gone negative. So they cannot spend money without having the money. So this is something you can check. Maybe is there any data entry error here where the receipt should have come first and the payment should have come later. So you can also have this being checked and asked. There's a question from Jagdishan that can I prevent a cash expenditure greater than 10,000 being recorded or entered in the entry stage itself? Now, certain features are permitted with the basic customization. You can only restrict where you want to pay or not to pay a party basis. You can set a limit to a party. To set a limit to a transaction, you have to set the user level controls, and in the user level controls you can set. But however, setting a limit to a person will also curtail the thing, which I can see without TDL how it can be done. I have not explored. I can as the session is done, I can see that and show that. All right, moving further. Now the intention is to see the voucher types, payments and closing balance. Once this is done, if we have transactions being recorded properly, you can check are there any transactions on Sunday or the percentage of cash expenditure. So if you have a large number of data where the transactions have been you passed through cash, you can just export that to an Excel, put a pivot table. It will give you what is the percentage of expenditure which is being spent on using the cash. Then physical cash versus cash balance matching, you can ask the client to give a denomination as on 31st March. Similarly, from like cash bank, you can also again check only receipt, payment and contra vouchers are used, or the sales and purchase if at all. Bank confirmation balance, please ensure that there is a balance and this is matching with the BRS. This is something which we miss out. We ensure that the bank balance is obtained and the bank reconciliation is done in the tally itself. This is something you can insist. In fact, someone asked, can this presentation be available? I will share. I'll see how it can be reached. So you can actually send this to the, even this meeting would be recorded and shared. You can send it to the accountant and say, look, complete these transactions and then send the tally data. Then when it comes to the sales and purchase, I would expect that you sincerely look at the sales register which is there in the tally. Now, why am I saying that look at the sales register or credit note and debit note? In the tally, you have multiple ways of looking at the sales. You can go to the P&L account sales and you can see the list of transactions here. I can change my view from the, I can make it as ledger wise, or I can get the voucher related vouchers. So let's say if my sales are showing 2 crore 37 lakhs here, my sales are showing 2 crore 37 lakhs. Also go to display your statement of, display your account books. You have your sales register. In the sales register, see whether you are having the same value. Now here you can see instead of 2 crores, I can see 97 lakhs. Because what is visible in your sales register is only those entries which have been posted as the sales. But if someone is posting a journal, that is not recorded into the sales register. Those who post entries by way of journal will not be visible in the sales register. This is something you can ask and say that please do not post any journal entries in the sales or purchase register. To the extent possible, please route it to AR or AP module, accounts receivable or accounts payable. So you can see all the transactions here. In fact, you can do a direct cash receipt, like debiting cash, crediting sales income through the sales voucher, but pass it as a sales F8, F9, not F7 journal. This is one thing you should insist. Then cutoff procedures are very important. That means you ensure that the goods are supplied at the end of the year and the revenue has been recognized basis that. In case if someone are dealing in the inventory and they're selling goods and the things, you make sure that they also post the transactions. Enable tracking of your invoices, sales order, against the order they send the material and they receive the raise the sales invoice, or against the purchase order they receive. What is the advantage of doing it? So let's look at here back. Let's go back to the tally here. In the P&L account, you can see in my sales, there's a new thing. There is something called sales bill to make. It says 1 crore, 1 lakh, some amount is the invoice is not raised. Like, how can you say that invoice is not raised, but why is it sitting in the revenue? It means the client has delivered the goods. So you can see this report back again in your display, your inventory reports, you can see your sales orders outstanding. So you can see all the orders which are outstanding wherever the sales order is used. If the sales orders are not outstanding, look at the sales bills are outstanding. So here you can see there are goods. It is into two categories. Goods have been delivered. So which means I have moved the material by way of delivery challan, but I have not raised the invoice. Sales bill is not done. So some 1 crore 55 lakhs. Then it is also saying that invoice is raised, but the goods are not delivered. So this is very important cutoff procedure. You can ask the client that please start using. This is kind of a healthy practice where they start recording the transactions. So against each transactions, whenever they are raising the sales invoice, they should also have the material out and material in for the same thing, so that the material is moving out. So you enable this sales order and material tracking in your inventory, F11 inventory. This will automatically help you. So that way you're complying the year-end cutoff procedures, whether the goods have been moved or not. So whether it is purchase order, all those things, you can do it. Then a reconciliation between GSTR1 and books of accounts, I'll again deal with when I come back to the statutory reconciliation. Same like sales, I would say the purchases. Even the purchases, you will be able to see even in the purchases the feature where, okay, in this it is not there. Yeah, so even here you can see I have goods have been received. The goods have come, but the bills have not come. So the moment the goods have come, you have accounted it as a closing stock, but you have to record a purchase so that there is a matching of it. So automatically Tally has identified that this is going to be an expenditure. So it has recorded as an expenditure of 22 lakhs is my expenditure, which is there visible in the screen. 22 lakhs is my expenditure. In the 22 lakhs, for 9 lakhs, the material has come. For 13 lakhs, for 13 lakh rupees, the material did not come. So I have just passed the material inward receipt. So from the in the godown, the material has come. Advantage of recording this, you have now the data shown into more accounting way. So that is why I always say Tally has an ability to do a forensic accounting. When we say forensic accounting, it is not that it's something going to do forensics to do with it, but it is having controls inbuilt into the transaction. If the transaction has something to do wrong, it will show by itself. The voucher number which you are selecting is important. The voucher type that you are selecting here is important. The ledger name that you are selecting is important. You make sure that these configurations are done rightly in the Tally. So these are the cutoff procedures when it comes to the purchase area. Then the next thing is the contracts. So each party has a separate contracts and separate payment time, payment intervals. So in the Tally, you can do the configuration of your party master. Let me go to Prime itself. You can do a configuration of the party master. So let's see. Let's say this is the party where Daman Industry. Now, here you can set what are the terms you want to have. You can set here what is the credit period. By default, people do not do any data entry. The moment I set a 30-day credit period, when you are seeing the aging, you can see aging by invoice date or the due date. So 0 to 30, it is not due. Only after raising the invoice on 31st day, it becomes a due. If this, let's say if it is outstanding for 45 days, how many days it is overdue? It is overdue by 15 days. So it should come in the bucket of 0 to 30 and not 30 to 60. By enabling this, it will help you to see that, okay, if there are any outstanding. And there are some parties wants to activate, see how many days it is outstanding. They want to calculate interest. So there is an simple interest module. If you activate it, you will know how much interest you want to collect it from the party. But today, in India especially, we have a lot of relaxation that, okay, even if it is paid 1 day in advance or 1 day late, it is accepted. But however, ensure this is activated. Next, ensure we activate the details of the name, address, everything. Set the GST number properly. The Tally Prime has a beautiful feature where you can get the GST info. Of course, I have not configured the GST details. The moment I click that, I will get the GST number of this party back on the screen here. This is one useful thing. If you want to capture more information about this party, you can go to the more details and you can give any description that you want to give or the notes you want to set it up, you want to write for the party, you can do it. So when you export this, the data, you can enable those two columns and you can just export. Okay, you can go through, okay, these are the terms of the contract with the customer, and it is easy for me to audit whether the transaction is fulfilled within the terms or not. So this is how one can do a feature saying that, okay, I want as an accountant, please update this and send me the Tally data. You can do that. Moving further on review of expenditure. Now, when it comes to the review of expenditure, I would suggest that whenever we see the expenditure, say direct expenditure, indirect expenditure, couple of things we have to advise the people is, this is the common thing which we see. There's nothing wrong in this. I can see that there is an expenditure which is posted regularly month on month. Perfect, looks perfectly okay. But what is not okay for me in this is when you get inside and look at the transaction, I don't know to whom I have incurred this expenditure. It is direct debit, cash, sorry, debit expenditure and credit cash or bank. This is something not permitted. You should tell the accountant, please use an AP module. When I say AP module, there is no separate module. So whenever you are recording an expenditure, record it with a normal way. Let's see, how do I record in this case? In the current transaction, I have an invoice received. Let's say I have the this is the party to whom, let's say this is the party to whom I have to pay. I will be saying that advertisement expenditure of 5,000 rupees payable. Here we have enabled the cost centers to Kamath advertisers. All right, and enable the bill reference, very important. This is the against the bill of Kamath 156/2122. This is the bill number of the Kamath, and when is it due for payment? Let's say it is due for payment. I have some 60 days credit. I'll just enter 60 days. It will automatically take it. If you know the date, you can enter the date. Otherwise, you just enter the days, it will take it. And this is the invoice received from Messrs. Kamath. Okay. Now against this bill, let's say I have made the payment. Okay. Now instead of advertisement, I am now saying Kamath. Now, if you can clearly see, if let's say professional charges or anything, if I account the transactions in the tally in this manner, I will be able to see automatically. All my transactions, vendor wise, month wise, amount. So I can simply prepare a pivot table, which is otherwise required as schedules or workings to your audit working papers. You can just export this into an Excel and prepare it as a schedule. So the that will do with the working papers, and you can cross check some of the bills and you're done. So this is the advantage of you actually insisting that we record the expenditure as a payable entry to the supplier, and the supplier makes the payment against it. Moving further, the statutory aspects on the GST. So couple of things which is very clear, where we all know is, firstly, my liability to be recorded in GST are 1 and 3B, and this data is visible in the 2A 2B of the other person or my purchases, and I want to avail the input tax credit and wherever reversal that needs to be done. So let's look at how do I achieve this aspect from the tally. In the tally, you can go to the tally. I will go to tally, display statutory reports, GST reports, GSTR1. Now it will prepare the necessary GST data for that is available for that month, and it will give us all the invoices. So it says, okay, there are 121 invoices, P2B, credit note, everything it is showing up, and by default it will prepare the previous month. Like right now I have the data which is April, so it will pick you the March data saying that this is what you need to pay. Now what you have to pay attention here is there are certain transactions which have not been uncertain, it did not do. There's one transaction and it says 276 transactions are not relevant to us. So you have to ensure that this uncertain transactions needs to be corrected. It says the unit of quant measure is not mapped to the unit of code correctly. So because of which it is unable to determine which it has to put it. So in this case, the GST number is not filled properly. And oh, company also is the same thing. So it will show you the list of errors that are there. You need to fix those errors. And once the errors are fixed, whatever is the number which you have to file is available. This is something you have to ensure month over month, that the classification to data filing in GSTR1 is properly visible here. Let the tally give that working, and it should help you at what you need to do. Like GSTR1, GSTR3B, the input tax credit and liability related information will also be populated here. So you can see how much is the input tax credit that you need to avail basis your books of accounts is available. So it has segregated into eligible and ineligible ITC, and also which table what you have to do the data entry, it segregates. Make sure how you can get this information automatically from Tally. Please advise the client that do the configuration. Once you do this configuration, you have taken care of it. After this, it is also important that you post your monthly closing accounting entries and a reconciliation with the government books. This is very, very important. This is something which again most people don't do. What I mean by this, how do I clear and close the closing entries? If I go back, yes, this is perfectly fine. I can see all the data that is coming is perfectly fine. But if I go to my balance sheet, if I go to my balance sheet, current assets, sorry, current liabilities, duties and taxes, here I have my CGST, input IGST, SGST. So my input is going in one line, output is going in one line. So every month on month, the entries are posted without closing the books. Now, what do you mean by without closing the books? I filed my GSTR3B, which means my liability is discharged. I no longer can still continue this amount as liability. I have to pass a journal entry. What should be the journal entry? Like, let's say for this month, for the month of April, my journal entry would be, I will create a liability ledger. I'll create a new liability ledger. So this is my output IGST, let's say 83,000 rupees. And I will transfer this to electronic. I just transfer to my electronic liability register. Closing liability for the month of March is accounted. Likewise, you can, oh, sorry, this is output CGST. Okay. Okay, let's go to output CGST. So you can see I am reducing the balance month over month. So when you post this entry, you can now ask the accountant, look, you have created the liability, you have transferred to the liability ledger. Why are you still having a balance here? Ideally, this should become zero. So you can always ask it and say, go back, look, what is the error? The error could be if there are balances still there, which means you have sales made, liability not posted in GSTR1 or 3B. Or if this is showing in a debit balance, it indicates that you have erroneously reported a higher value in your GSTR3B than this. This way, when you do both for your GSTR1, GSTR2B, you can clearly know what is the value of the credit that can be there in the books of accounts. That is something you can look at and advise your clients to take action of. This is on your GST related transactions. Similarly, like GST, TDS configurations can be done. Expenditure wise, you can set the TDS reports are also available. So the same master where you have gone in the statutory, display the statutory reports. GST report is there. You can see the TDS report, both 26Q, 26, 27, the party wise, you can see the details. Just that you have to enable the configuration. When it comes to TDS receivable, this is one area where you have to do manually, because the 26AS gives you TAN wise details. Right now, there is no, the 26AS register in the tally. Given that it is not there in the tally, what you can do is you can do another simple method of go to your TDS ledger. Let's say in this case, my TDS, there's one party. I can activate, is it my, yeah, this is opening balance. So I can activate a transaction bill wise to this, and I can start capturing the TAN of the party in the bill wise, so that I can consolidate and compare with the 26 years. This is one simple way of doing the reconciliation that is possible. Okay, then comes to fixed assets. What do we generally want? We want the fixed asset register. Now, Tally do not have a capability of building a fixed asset register because it needs the depreciation, various other things. There are a lot of add-on modules that are available. But what is that you can at least suggest the accountant to do? You can ask the accountant to do a proper grouping of the assets. So the list of ledgers that you see in the Tally, the list of ledgers that you see in the Tally in the fixed assets, you can tell them that please group them. Please group them, and group them in such a way that create plant and machinery, furniture, create a group. If you have locations, location 1, location 2, create the ledgers. Then after creating, you also have asked them to record the transactions, bill wise. So here you can ask them to create the transactions bill wise, where you can look at the data. So I enable the bill wise to this, so fixed asset register or stands, whatever. So I can set the, it is, you can enable the bill wise for all the ledgers, and look at that, the bill wise details, so that in the bill wise you can ask them to record the invoice number. This is something which is matched with the Excel register of the physical register which is being maintained. Moving further, the balance sheet items. When a loan is taken, create that loans under the loans liability. We have an obligation where we account all the bank charges, processing charges, and everything. So if the transaction is recorded as such, instead of directly recording debit the asset and credit the bank, route it to the vendor, the money would have gone to the vendor. So create a full cycle so that you can match the loan statement. In the loan statement, you will be getting EMI being paid. So 83,000 every month as an EMI, but it has an interest and a principal component. So the EMI chart, you can create a interest every month, credit it to the liability ledger, and as it is being paid, you can match the closing balance of the the loan balance to the bank statement. So this is something you can actually look for or look out and get this being implemented in the tally. Then the other balance sheet items, trade payable, receivable. So ensure the bill wise is enabled, the address is properly captured, the PAN and GST numbers are properly captured. If there are MSME customers, you can group them, all the customers under MSME. So a confirmation of balances can be obtained. So that way from the tally itself, you can see list of the customers who are MSME. And if someone is doing a TDS deduction, so prepare for the TDS ledger, enable the bill wise and collect the 26 AS details matching to it. Payroll, not many uses the payroll in the tally, but I just would want to say that the tally has a feature where you can run the payroll entries. So payroll is also another feature in the tally. You can create the payroll master, which is you can create an employees in the group, you can list the employees, you can define the salary heads, and you can generate a pay slip directly from the tally. This is feature which is available. Not many have used it. You can start advising them. One thing you should notice is if you're creating a payroll entries, payroll by default creates these employees as a cost unit. So basis that cost unit, data gets recorded. So this is a feature that is there in the tally. Request everyone to have a look at it. So these are the various things I would like to present in today's session. We are well within the time. So I have more time for taking question and answers. And if you think that some more things to be added, you can always share, we can add to it. Let me look at any questions that are there in the Q&A, or if you have any questions you want to unmute and ask, we can ask. Okay, firstly, Komal, thanks. The session is recorded and it is there on the YouTube channel of the Tally CA Connect. You can definitely share this link to the accountants and say that, okay, I would want you to complete these compliances and come back. It would help our life. How to nil the closing stock in Tally? Rupendra, Naman, let me show how do we do it. Now, there are two ways of doing the stock recording. I have closing stock. See, this stock, I don't see the calculations are accurate. I want to have the stock, but I don't want to integrate with the financials. So when you have something like that in the features, you can say that I'm just here in the any screen you can go. You can press F11 in features. I just disable integrate accounts in inventory. I say no. Now on the right side, which you can see the 22 lakhs which is there. So by removing this integration, you can see the closing stock values have gone. That doesn't mean it did not get deleted. It will still be there. So in my display inventory books, I can see the stock items or all the items. I can see all the items with the value. Now, for example, I have 37,000 closing stock 900 grams, but it got lost, the theft evaporated. You can always post a stock journal. You can post a stock journal. This was an item, adhesive power. So you can say adhesive power, I have this batch 30,500 which is there. So I can say some 30,500. All these items have been lost. So you can say this has been lost during whatever be the reason. So, and our stock check, it has reduced. Now from 37,000, it has become 7,400. So by this, in this method, Naman, you can reduce your closing stock. Rohit, if organization has more than 2 registrations, how do we generate reports? So Rohit, currently the way Tally is designed, in the current version of the Tally, one Tally instance, one GST number. You cannot have the Tally generating multiple reports. if you want, you need to create 2 tally instances. Let's say you say, see, I'm not possible, I am doing it and I need to accommodate 2 GSTNs in the same tally. Then you have to approach the tally partners. There are a lot of people who have done customizations onto the tally where you can get the reporting each branch wise. Okay, Rupendra is asking only closing stock is nil, not opening stock. Rupendra is the same thing. Go to the adhesive power. If you, okay, in the P&L, both opening, it is a manual data entry. In the inventory information, my stock item, adhesive, whichever is there. So whatever is the opening balance, you enter it or you reduce it, it will become 0. That's how you will be doing it. Any other questions for anyone? Oh, Vandana Madam is there. Good to see Vandana Madam. And if you want to add something, you can definitely add here. Okay, 2 participants have raised the hand. Maybe.
So Venu, very nice to go. Because audit is always my favorite subject. Can you just showcase that CA का मतलब Tally ERP 9 में just type CA.
कहाँ पे मैडम?
Tally ERP 9 में get rid Tally पे just press CA.
Okay.
Okay. Then go to fixed asset analysis. There is something. यहाँ पे अदर एनालिसिस पे जाइए. यहाँ पे देखो फिक्स एसेट एनालिसिस पे जाइए. आप ऑल्ट F2 पीरियड चेंज कीजिए. आपका 20-21 में डेटा है ना?
नहीं, इस
हाँ, बट क्यों नहीं है मैं बताता हूँ. आपके जो भी ट्रांजैक्शन थे वो बैंक के थ्रू आए थे. That's right. Had they booked any bill, no? So Tally gives you breakup also of days also calculation comes, you know. So that is what people should know. Okay, that can save their time because how many days you have used that report they wanted always, you know. 180 days के पहले हुआ कि नहीं, तो एक साथ में कंसोलिडेटेड रिपोर्ट यहाँ पे मिलता है. फिर इसको आप एक्सेल में एक्सपोर्ट कर सकते हैं.
Correct. So for income tax, you need to, whether you will do a full depreciation, half depreciation, straight you get a report.
हाँ, that 50% वाला तो easy हो जाता है ना. Your time is saved, and there are group of vouchers, so it will also save your time, you know.
Correct.
So that's what I like. You have to have a block of assets. So fixed asset के अंदर ही आपका वो grouping हो गया तो it becomes very easy. So in and all, I just enjoyed your session.
Good.
Thank you.
Right. All right. So with this, we have come to end of today's session, and I thank Tally, Komal to have an opportunity for me to discuss some of my viewpoints. And friends, as I mentioned, whatever we have discussed is all the basic. It's just that you should tell the accountant, okay, these are the basic things. Let us get this right. I have not shown any of the customizations. It's just that if we have the Tally configured in the way it is expected or designed to be done, trust me, 90% of the audit related issues will be solved and it would be simple. So now I hand over back to Komal.
Thank you, sir. The session was great, actually. So I could see many questions. So in the chat box, have we covered all of the questions? If we could see the from Rohit, if the organization has more than 2 GST registration.
Yes, we have covered.
Yes, we have covered that. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Question.
I think this last question is there one.
Yeah, so there's a question by Naveen. Please explain about the Excel import tool. And Naveen, what I have mentioned is the Tally has this. If you let's go back to that ledger of advertisement which we have seen. Now, assuming if you are using the expenditure recorded party wise, and I export the current report as is basis into an Excel. And if I have, right now I do not have a party wise, but what happens when I export this into party wise, this data is visible. You might be asking about where which I have shown expenditure wise, month wise, party wise, how did it come automatically? This is the same thing, it's just that we have exported the entire day book, so where you can put it into columnar and do it. So right now I'm exporting this advertisement ledger for you. So this is the ledger, advertisement ledger, which is there. Let's just so imagine you have all the purchase register or everything. So I can just what I have shown, there was a pivot table. It was just, there was my party name and my date and the amount. So you can clearly see automatically the transactions have come by expenditure, by vendor, by month. Automatically Excel does it. So this is how they have the data of the client was shown. So all that I'm saying is, if you use the simple methods of recording transactions, P&L items cost center, balance sheet items bill wise, expenditure, debit the expenditure and credit the party, not cash in bank. While recording the purchase entry, enable the purchase supplier's invoice number and the invoice date, easy for matching with GST or 2A, a JSON reconciliation with the third party tools. These simple steps, if you enable and get the accountant to do the accounting, this, I think that should help a lot of things and save a lot of issues. Yes.
I think there's another question, if you could say.
Please show how to generate Schedule 3 reports in Tally Prime. So again, in the Tally Prime, you have, yeah. So there has been look and change, feel has been changed. When I go to my balance sheet, instead of the different shortcuts, come to on the right side, there are two important things that have come up, which you should be worried and which you should be looking at. Is this save view, create new view, or change view? Whatever you are seeing, you want to change it and to see a new view. Here I will say change the view. Instead of this, I can change it to my vertical view. The way which you have been seeing, you can do that. You can configure and enable however you want to do, you can do it. And Tally is now coming up with the new release, is going to add up with more add-on features of this, which will also enable you to get it in a better way, which is audit analytics and presenting the Schedule 3 related, the way you can configure the Schedule 3. All those things are coming into Prime. So it should be there, both audit analytics and the new the certain features will be there in the Prime in the new version. So I would suggest everyone should start migrating to the Prime.
So, one other question is, bank statement entries is a lengthy process. Is there any shortcut?
See, bank statement, there are two ways of entering. Is a transaction happened in the bank account and you are importing it, which means that's not real time. So you're a part-time accountant and everything. So there are a lot of tools that are available. So basically today bank statement can be downloaded into a CSV or an Excel. In the Excel itself, you can say this has to be debited or credited to this particular expenditure or a party ledger. Press of a button, data can be imported to Tally automatically. It's there, historically there, many tools that are available. If it is, you're talking about a reconciliation, like I am doing the data entry in the bank, but the reconciliation for me, it is, there are too many things for me to check and put the date. I have seen you that set bank date, you set the bank date. And whenever you are setting the bank date, please select a smaller date. So in a month you are doing the reconciliation, change the period to 5 days, set the bank date and see whether the closing balance is matching. If it's not matching, pick out what are those vouchers did not match, don't do it. So that way you can easily complete the historical bank reconciliation. Naveen is asking, can you suggest a tool, import entries master to date to tally? Naveen, plus just to Google it, you will find many tally partners who are available doing it. And if you know little bit of programming, you yourself can do it. Like I write lot of scripts of pushing the data from taking the SAP data output and putting it into tally, because many users are comfortable for finalization into tally. So it is available many in the market.
So I don't see any further questions, so I think we can wind up now. And so first of all, I would really like to thank you, and we have received some great feedback from CA Monica and CA Vandana also. I think you went through them. So Monica ji has written that complex issues mostly get sorted with simple solutions.
Very
So
true.
it's a good session. Yeah. So on that note, I would like to conclude this session. Thank you, Venu sir, once again.
Thank you.